Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for our very first Teen Summit, Solidarity for All. We have for us with us this morning our students, our high school students from Clayton County Public Schools. And also we have our superintendent, Dr. Morsi Shea Beasley, and Dr. Sandra Nunez, our Deputy Superintendent of Student Support Services. So Dr. Beasley, would you bring us greetings?
I sure will. Thank you, Dr. Dunn. To Dr. Nunez, to Representative Burno, I see there, and to all of our young student leaders, thank you all for being here. I am so excited that you are here and for us to be having this opportunity in conversation. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for making sure we have this conversation in our school system, in our community, in our state, and in our world. I think it's very important. People always talk about, I had this conversation yesterday with people about the relevance of schools. And I'm thinking, as a superintendent, we should be encouraging our young people to have these conversations because this is what's happening in their world. I think there's a disconnect if you have school systems that are not allowing students to have these conversations. Someone sent me an article yesterday, and I believe it was in Ed Week, that basically identified, the article shared that there were school systems that were about to make it against the law to talk about racism, sexism, and things of that nature in the schools. And I'm thinking, how antiquated, how just out of sync a state legislature would be to make schools a place where they're not talking about issues that are relevant to the lives of students. And so I'm glad that we are having this conversation here in Clayton County. I'm glad that you all are positioned to question the powers that be and to inform the powers that be. I think that's the purpose of education. That's the purpose of schooling, to create a very informed citizenship, a citizenry, and to ensure that this democracy goes in the right direction. And so I want you to know, young people, that without your participation, this democracy will not go in the right direction. Without your engagement and your involvement, we will lose this democracy, and we will find ourselves added along the list of other nations throughout history that tried to do democracy but failed. And so I encourage all of you to continue to be the leaders that you are, continue to engage, continue to ask tough questions, have the debates, have the conversations, whether people like to have them or not. And oftentimes the conversations you don't want to have or you don't like to have, those are probably the ones you need to have. And so I just want to say thank you. I commend all of you. To Christopher, I don't know which organization you represent, but thank you for being here. You are right. This is a very professional organization, but whatever we're doing, we want to ensure that our children receive the right experiences so they can be the leaders in our society that we need them to be well into the 21st and 22nd and 23rd centuries and beyond. So thank you, young people. Keep up the good work. I look forward to hearing what you have to say on today. Thank you, Dr. Dunn. Thank you, Dr. Nunez, for your leadership.
Thank you, Dr. Beasley.
Well, and thank you, Dr. Beasley, for being here with us today, supporting this panel, and Dr. Dunn and her leadership for organizing it. Today, I have the privilege to introducing our panel, our moderator, and I ask a point of personal privilege to also to introduce, say a little bit about our students, because when I read their bios, I was going, oh my Lord, what a distinguished group of young people we have here having this conversation today. And I promised Dr. Dunn, I am not going to take long, but I need to say something about these students. Well, let me start by our moderator, Mr. Christopher Perlera. And Christopher is the Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships and Messaging for the Georgia Division of Family and Children's Services. He joined the division in late 2020 after consulting for 5 years in the areas of government, international, and community affairs. Prior to starting his own consulting firm, he served as a special projects coordinator, business analyst, and press secretary for the Georgia Secretary of State. He's a graduate of the University of Georgia and Lead Atlanta 2015 alumni, and was recognized as one of the 50 most influential Latinos of 2020 by the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Christopher is the son of Salvadoran refugees and cares deeply about Georgia's Latin American and immigrant community. He serves on numerous boards and committees for Hispanic organizations, and he is fully bilingual, bicultural, and professionally literate in Spanish with a degree in Romance languages, in addition to being a lifelong bilingual learner. He enjoys going on long runs, doing his own car maintenance, and building computers in his free time. Christopher is proud to serve Georgia's families and children because they are the building blocks of a healthy society. And that is our moderator. And we have as well a very, very impressive panel of students that, you know, we have David Gwen, Mary Jones, Alana Pittman, Jahan Patel, Rachel McBride, Alisa Jackson, Daniel Savala Palafox, Christy Gwen, and Dasola Abitan. And they are from, if you look at their bios, from student presidents, student council presidents. They have won a number of awards in different areas. And I'm going to begin here with David, who is a last generation Vietnamese immigrant and has served as a student ambassador for Georgia's Secretary of State and in Student Ambassador Program. And Alana, and she's the oldest of 7 and has been the Youth Council President for the NAACP in the Clayton branch. And we have Jahan, who is a sophomore at Mount Zion High School. And this year, he was part of that world language competition that we so much enjoyed. And he's the native speaker and won 2nd place in Spanish competition. Rachel is a student at 17-year-old organizer, a 17-year-old in Clayton County. She's dedicated to social justice and surrounding systems of race. Alisa, she's currently first chair bass in orchestra. We have musicians here from Stillwell School of the Arts. We have Danielle Zavala Palafox, and Danielle is a first generation student, and he is at Riverdale High School. He is interested in pursuing a higher education, but didn't have a clue of what he was going to do. And Daniel flourished in the program and became one of the students' leaders and the captain of a Scholars Bowl team. And we have Christy Gwen. Christy is a sophomore at Elite Scholars, and she's currently a volunteer at a local clinic, which has allowed her to assist with the COVID-19 vaccine administration. Dasola Abitan, and she enjoys advocating for young girls and the community. She's also known as Girl Up Ladies. She is a member of the school club known as Girl Up Ladies Night. And Ishara Dobson, she participates in clubs such as Beta Club, National Honor Society, Environmental Club, and Mock Trial. And we have a Mary Jones, a 10th grade student at Stillwell School of the Arts, and he's an outstanding student with a focus on community leadership. I had to emphasize, I have to highlight these students and this panel. I had to take this time. Thank you so much for that time, Dr. Dunn, and let's move on with the program. We are excited to hear everyone have this conversation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hughes. That's wonderful. We appreciate the highlighting the students and sharing the good information about them. Now, students, we are ready to begin our forum, and we'd like to begin with a pitch. So if you'd like to do a little 1-minute pitch and tell us about yourself, something special that you'd like to share, let's do that at this time. And we'll start with David.
Hi, my name is David Wynn. I am a junior at Martha Ellen Stillwell School of the Arts. I plan to major in biology in college and looking forward to specializing in adolescent medicine.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm currently a junior at North Clayton High School, and I'm currently one of the hub coordinators for Sunrise Movement Clayton County. I'm the co-founder and co-chair of the Brighter Future Youth Leadership Council here in Clayton, which is focused on student mobility. And I'm also a youth consultant for the Partnership for Southern Equity.
Thank you, Rachel, for joining us. We really appreciate you. Ishara?
Hello, my name is Ashara Dobson. I am a junior at Morrow High School, and I participate in clubs like Mock Trial, Upward Bound, Environmental Club, etc. And in college, I hope to major in biology, and I hope to become an environmental scientist.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Amiri?
It's pronounced Amir.
I'm sorry, Amir. I apologize, Amir. Thank you.
So I'm in the 10th grade. I go to Martha Ellen Stillwell School of the Arts. After college, I'm still thinking about what to do after college. I think I just want to help people though.
Okay, great. That's good. That's good to want to help people. We appreciate that, Amir. Thank you for joining us this morning. Jahan?
Hi, my name is Jahan Patel. I'm a sophomore and I attend Mount Zion High School. After graduating high school, my plan is to attend Clayton State University as a BBA student.
Thank you, Jahan. Thank you so much for joining us. Alyssa?
Hi, my name is Alyssa Jackson. I'm a junior at Martha Ellen Stillwell School of the Arts. And after high school, I plan to either go to Georgia State University or Valdosta State University to become an ultrasound technician.
Wonderful, wonderful. Daniel?
Hi, my name is Daniel Zavala. I'm a senior from Riverdale High School. I'm graduating as salutatorian. I plan to attend UGA in the fall. Hopefully I'll find a mentor who guides me through what's called college. And I'm still undecided on what I'm gonna do.
Thank you, Daniel, for joining us. Desola?
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I'm in the 10th grade. I attend Elite Scholars Academy, and after high school, I plan on attending Johns Hopkins University to study to be a neurosurgeon.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Christy?
Hello, everyone. My name is Christy Nguyen. I am currently a sophomore at Elite Scholars, and after high school, I plan on pursuing a pre-med track to becoming an internal medicine physician.
Thank you, Christy. Wonderful. Alana?
Hi, I'm Pittman. I'm a junior at LaDroit High School. I plan to
Alana, your audio may be a little bit.
I plan to go to Miami or New York for fashion and study merchandising and my fashion line.
Okay, thank you, Alana. You may want to check your microphone to make sure that it's distorted. So check that for us, right at the beginning here at the forum, okay? Okay, Mr. Perlera, we're ready for you to begin. Thank you, students, for that great pitch and telling us something about yourselves and your aspirations after high school. We appreciate you. Representative Verna, would you like to give a few remarks at this time before we begin? I know that you have another engagement today.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to just share some words with the students. I'm really proud of you all. As Dr. Nunez said, and our moderator, you are a distinguished group of students. I serve District 77. Riverdale High School and Drew High School are in my district. But I just got through serving on the special elections integrity committee. And so if you know anything about that, you've heard a lot about it. And at some point, I want to be able to talk to you all about it because there was a lot that went on. And so the one thing I just want to tell you that we did do HB 479, that's the Georgia Citizens Arrest Law. That was one of the laws that we passed. And also last year we passed the hate crime bill. So I'm looking forward to listening and hearing what you have to say because as you all know, you are very valuable. You'll be voters soon if you're not already. And the 2022 election is coming up, and we need for you to be actively engaged in your community. It's going to be very, very important for you to be engaged, even though they've made a lot of changes. What they've given us a year so that we can prepare. So I look forward to working with you all to help us to make sure that we get everybody in Clayton County out to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Bruno. Dr. Nunez, we ready to begin?
Yes, we are. I'm excited. I'm just ready. I'm very ready.
All right. Okay, Christopher, we'll turn it over to you at this time as our moderator, and thank you and welcome.
All right. Thank you very much for the kind words. And, I know that I'm a political junkie. I'm big on civic literacy, and for a representative to come out of their way to make time on a Saturday morning, it's a big deal. But I'm also incredibly impressed about the civic chops that I see, not just inherently in some of the work being done with, national campaigns of the NAACP and some of your other bios, but just you all are very impressive young leaders, and you give me the energy to believe in the work that I do on a day-to-day in supporting families in Georgia. So thank you very much for allowing me the privilege to be here. We have a set of questions. We have 10 questions and 2 minutes per question. That is way too much time for what we've allotted today. And there's going to be a rich conversation given how intelligent and bright each one of you are and your diverse set of lenses and opinions. So we're going to start it strong, and we're probably not going to get through them all, but I'm going to ask you to please keep your answers concise to the 2-minute mark, because we'll also be responding to these questions. And I'm going to do my best to give at least 3 or 4 individuals to respond to the core of that question before moving on. And as a reminder, I believe you all know that we'll be using the raise hand feature that everyone's familiar with, I think, through the reactions portion on the bottom right-hand side, bottom center right. If you raise your hand, I'll call on you and you unmute yourself, and hopefully we don't talk over ourselves. And if everybody is good with that, give me a thumbs up on the Zoom, like I just did to myself. All right, it looks like most of us are on the same page. So we're going to start with the first question that I think that is the foundation for this conversation, and I'd like a few of us to take a step forward and share, what does solidarity mean to you in your community? And I'm looking for some raised hands again. What does solidarity mean to you? I'm looking for raised hands on the screen. Okay, I see David, Jahan. All right, we got 2. We're going to start with Ms. Patel. Please.
Solidarity mean to me is a feeling of unity between people who have the same interests and same goals. For example, of solidarity is protest with a clear goal.
Yeah, very good answer. Mr. Nguyen?
So solidarity to me is being able to reach a common consensus on a goal that you have, like Ms. Patel said, but it's also just a network of trust and understanding that you can have with the people around you. And it's also pretty much a helping hand when your back is against the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that you mentioned trust, because this a lot of this conversation revolves around trust. Amir?
To me, solidarity means when like-minded individuals come together and decide to either solve a problem, to come up with a solution.
Yeah. Looking for solutions. And I think I could have sworn I saw another hand up. There's some more. Rachel McBride.
Hi. I think solidarity is community. You asked what does solidarity look like in your community. I think the two are very synonymous, especially in terms of, I don't even think solidarity has to be action-based all the time or oppression-based all the time. It's just a feeling, like David said, of mutual trust and companionship. And if we had true solidarity, then it wouldn't have to be action-based at all, because if we had solidarity, then we wouldn't have oppression and racism and these hateful systems that exist in our societies. So I think solidarity on a community scale is community, and on a widespread scale, it is the lack of a need for action. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's a good answer in the sense that solidarity is something that we're always working towards. That individuals in our society think of an end and final solution to everything, but it's it's something that we all work on every day. I'm very proud to be with you all here. That we start having these difficult conversations, as Superintendent Beasley mentioned. We're having them now, adults. I am having this now in my agency. So very, very good answers, and it looks like we've gotten through everybody who wanted to comment on that. And does anybody have, some of you already shared this, but do you have a concrete and clear example of what solidarity looks like in your schools or in the community, or maybe a favorite one? I think Ashara, I could have sworn I saw your hand up earlier, but feel free to answer either one.
I would say an example of solidarity would be between the Black Lives Matter and the Asian Lives Matter movements. In each of these groups, you see people from different races, backgrounds, and social classes come together and protest for the rights for people who are taken advantage of. And I think personally, solidarity could be in any group. If you just have to have, it's just a harmonized people who have similar interests that work together for an action.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking for hands for, let's see, Alyssa, would you like to share with us since you haven't had a chance to speak yet?
Yes, just like Ashara said, a clear example of solidarity would be the Black Lives Matter and the Stop Asian Hate movement, because you have people of different races, different nationalities and backgrounds coming together to fight for equal justice for those groups of people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And David, would you like to share?
Yeah, an example of solidarity that really touched me was during the Atlanta shootings when Asian women were targeted by a shooter inside of their own businesses. My mother works in her nail salon nearly her entire day. She's watching the stream from her nail salon right now. And I remember seeing that on the news and feeling terrified because my mother works near the Atlanta area. And my students at my school knew that my mother was in that group that was vulnerable to that type of hate violence. And they reached out to me and they reached out to her, and they had just had a simple conversation with me and listened to my panic ranting. And that was just an example of true solidarity that really tugged at my heartstrings. It's a shame that it had to be during a time of crisis, during a time of mass violence, but I'm glad that it took place anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you bring up a good point. In times of crisis, our emotions are heightened, and the need to listen to our friends in the community that are experiencing some of the same trauma that other communities have experienced is fundamental to building a cohesive community. Amir, would you like to add to that?
I would just like to say that some forms of solidarity in school would be like pep rallies to show like school pride, or like football teams, like supporting your teams and stuff.
Yeah, that is a type of solidarity. Absolutely. Does anybody else who hasn't had a chance to speak would like to talk about an example of solidarity in the community or their school? I think Daniel.
Hello. Oh, so I feel like solidarity can also take forms in organizations, such as like the program me and Ashara in, Upward Bound. We all have the common goal of becoming the first people in our family to attend college. That's what's called. Another organization that I am is Maynard Jackson. What's it called? Our goal really is to become leaders in our community. So they help us what's called, build leadership skills. And I think what's called, solidarity can take form in organizations that community can provide. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned, I think many of us here are first generation, either intending to go to college or first generation Americans. I walk and talk like I'm from here, but I want to remind everybody that my parents speak with heavily accented English, and they came here in very dire circumstances. And so you guys give me a lot of life because there's so much promise in the future that you all hold. So let's talk to Christy. We haven't heard from Christy yet.
Well, I want to build off of what David said about Atlanta shootings and how there was a lot of vulnerability in the Asian community. And I feel like solidarity can take place in the smallest acts. I had friends reach out to me. I do volunteer at a clinic, so I do drive there alone after school. So they'll just reach out to me and they tell me to drive safe, be safe, because we live in a world where the times are unpredictable, and just having friends that are always caring for you and just making sure that you're okay is really great.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Just checking in. I know that a lot of times we feel like we need to fix problems, but just asking somebody how you feel and making them know that you care is a big deal. So it's very glad to hear that. And I could have sworn I saw Jahan, and now I don't see her on my screen. You still there?
Yes, I'm here. So to me, solidarity is all about unity of purpose. Like always have to be in unity and interest of sympathy.
Absolutely. So I'm going to assume that Christy still has her hand up just from the previous question. You don't have anything to add all of a sudden. All right. I'm going to move on to our fourth question, which personally I think is one of the best questions. It's very subtle. The question is, what do you think it means to be colorblind as it relates to diversity, whether race or ethnicity, as a construct? And if you think it's possible to be colorblind in today's society, and I will go ahead and put a point of personal note that I feel like that conversation is very, very pertinent to our times, of whether you believe in a colorblind society or in a society different from perceiving colorblindness. So we have a lot of hands up. Let's see. DeSola, would you like to start?
So colorblindness to me means not letting people's ethnicity or race impact how you treat them. And I think there's two answers to that question. Where do you believe it is possible to be colorblind in today's society? I would say yes, in a sense that you can treat somebody the same as others based off, without taking into determination their ethnicity or their cultural background. But I also think that we're so diverse and that we have to treat people differently because they come from different backgrounds. We don't want to disrespect them or cross the boundaries when we come. You can't treat somebody the same if they're different. So I have an example, but it's not really, I don't think it has to do with ethnicity or race, but let's say we have a Muslim girl who wears a hijab and we have a young boy who just decides to wear a hat in school. And so it would be wrong to ask both people to take off their head coverings in school. You have to respect the girl's culture and her religion and not ask her to do that, but you have the right to ask the young boy to do that because there's no religious or ethnicity tied to it.
Yeah, you've acknowledged the complexity in the conversation and some of the duality that both of, we have to understand that we need to treat people equally, but we also need to understand that that not just you as individuals, but our communities of color and different ethnicity and immigrant backgrounds have historically been treated differently. So it's very good. Let's see, moving on to Alana.
I believe that people can be colorblind to certain extent. Like, if you genuinely know that just because they're just they can't,
I think if you turn off your video, it may work a little better.
But what I'm trying to say is, people can be colorblind, but then I also think that people will say they're colorblind.
Alana, you want to maybe try and use your cell phone, your mobile device to speak.
They'll react a certain type of way to certain things that other people do because they're not used to it.
I think we had a little trouble with that one, so we might give you some time to connect with your cell phone maybe, but I'll be happy to come back to you once you reconnect, because we have everybody wants to talk about this one. Let's see. Ishara?
I do believe that color blindness is a possible thing, but usually in society, we usually see color blindness related to children or people that are younger than us because they don't have the ability to discriminate against somebody just solely based on their skin or their ethnicity or anything related to that. So when I associate color blindness, I associate it with adults. But with adults, I think it's possible because we all have an ability to not judge people based on their race, ethnicity, or anything related to that. But some people decide not to, and some people believe that they can force people to see the way they see things so they could like transmit their ideal of like that racism and discrimination in America. I do believe that is possible, but I'm not too sure if many people catch it today.
Okay, I think we got that. And Alana, we'll come back to you as we let everybody else kind of share their responses. Thank you, Shara. Rachel, would you like to share?
Yes. A lot of times, I've said this. A lot of times we use the idea of equality as an excuse to not have equity. So we say, hey, if I'm colorblind or I act like I don't see color, everybody sees color. That's not something you can just not see. Same way you see that the sky is blue. The same way you see that someone's hair is curly or straight. These are things that you can't ignore, right? And a lot of times we like to hide away from the fact that we can't ignore these things by acting like we can't, by saying, hey, I treat everyone equally, instead of, hey, I treat everybody equitably. I give everybody what they need and what they deserve as a person in respect to their history, their personal experience. Like DeSola said, like you have to treat people differently, but you don't have to alienate people for those differences. And I think that that's a distinction that we need to make instead of just throwing the whole thing out and being like, hey, I don't see color, because color is a very real thing and we've made it into a very real and powerful social construct. So we can't ignore it.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And let's see, Alyssa, would you like to share with us?
Yes. In my opinion, to be colorblind when it comes to diversity means to ignore group differences. When you're colorblind, you basically believe when you're colorblind, you basically believe race does not play a factor in a situation. For instance, how David brought up the Caucasian man who killed 8 Asians in Atlanta because he was having a bad day. If you believe the hate crime he committed was due to his bad day and it wasn't racially motivated, that's an issue. And we have to call it what it is instead of being colorblind.
Thank you for sharing. That's a very good point. David?
I don't want to confuse colorblindness with equity because in my personal opinion, being colorblind isn't something that we should strive for. Like, what do we gain from seeing a person not by their race or their color? But most importantly, what do we lose? We lose the rich history of where that person came from. We lose vivid and colorful cultures that they came from. But most importantly, we lose sight of the hardships and the struggles that people of their ethnicity, of their race have struggled through in the past. That's not something that we should overlook, and that's not something we should put in the past. We can't simply be blind to color for the feeling that it makes us equal, because it doesn't. It makes everybody the same. We need to celebrate the culture that we have, and we need to embrace the history, both the good and the bad. Because having a truly colorblind society means you look at me and you put my Asianness to the side. That's not what I want. I'm proud of who I am and I'm proud of where I came from.
Yeah, well said. I'm trying not to give away my opinion on your responses, but that is acknowledging the differences that make us who we are is fundamental in that conversation of is colorblindness the correct answer? And I'm going to give Alana the opportunity to share with us again, because we couldn't quite hear you, but I know you were very eager to share. So please, your connection looks a little more stable now.
So I believe
we need to mute one of them.
Alana, mute your computer.
There we go.
It's muted. I don't know why it's not.
How about now?
Hello?
We can. Oh, it sounds like we're having some problems.
Hello?
You may just have to disconnect your computer, Alana, and use your cell phone.
Yeah.
Okay, I think
Is
we're
it
good.
better?
Yes, now we're
Yeah,
good.
that's
So would
better.
you like to share with us again?
Yes. So I believe that you can be colorblind, but like David said, it's a matter of being colorblind, but also not forgetting where they come from. Like I don't want to be. I want everybody to acknowledge me as a human, but I also want them to know as well that I am Black and I am very proud of it, and don't take that away from me just because you want to be colorblind. And I also believe that people will say they're colorblind, but they will do certain things because they believe that that's what a certain person does because of their culture, and they don't understand that hey, just because I am, like, for example, how I'm sorry if I say your name wrong, Basola said taking off a hijab off of somebody's head is like because you want to see them as colorblind, but I'm like, you can see them as colorblind, but don't take the culture away from it. That's what I'm basically saying. Don't take the culture away from the person just because you want to be colorblind.
Absolutely. And I think many others have shared about the experience of being different from what is predominantly considered, whiteness in society. And I say this with, to share with you guys, I'm a white passing Hispanic male. It's not lost on me, and I can blend in. But at the same time, when people try to, add me to their bunch, I'm like, I have zero in common with you, friend. But understand that, I'm an immigrant and I am, a light person of color. My experience has been different. My trauma is different, just as each of us have experienced society in a different way. And the color blindness can take away from that. And it is important to acknowledge the differences, appreciate them culturally, ethnically. So some very good answers. We're going to move on to our next question. And this one is, you can take it how you will, but I'll probably try to interpret it. It's, do you think that other people try to change others that are different from them? So it's a question of assimilation. So do you think people are trying to change you because you're different? All right, we got some hands. Let's see. We're gonna start with DeSola.
So I think people do try and change others when they see a difference, but most of the time they don't think it's bad. They have good motives behind it because they think they're doing what's good for them because they believe it's good. But so yes, I do think that other people try and change things, and they may not see it as wrong unless the person says that it's wrong.
Thank you for sharing. Let's see. We're gonna ask Jahan.
So I would say yes. People have tried to change other perspective if other people have different opinion on a subject or topic. Like an example, kid have a different opinion on the particular issue. So parents may have a more mature perspective and have students understand the viewpoint. Point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a we're trying to imprint each other as parents and children and older youth and younger individuals. So that's a very good point. Let's see, Amir, would you share with us, please?
Yes, people do try to change other people. Like, for example, like some Christians try to convert other people to their religion. And sometimes, like, I feel like what we really should be doing is trying to inspire people to be the best versions of themselves instead of trying to change, because change comes from really within. Like, you have to decide to change as a person. I don't feel like you can change another person.
Absolutely. Let's see. How about we hear from Ishara?
You frequently see others afraid of the way people think or what they say. With some people, if they don't follow specific criteria for a person, they try to fix them. I say that is because they either have a sense of control or they're afraid of change. With the sense of control issue, when people aren't doing things in a specific way, they feel unheard or less than, so they try to fix that issue by projecting their insecurities onto others. And also with the afraid of change issue, some people are afraid of the consequences that may occur if they don't follow things in a specific way. So they project that fear into other people, like their children or their peers or their family members.
Thank you for sharing. Let's see. How about Christy? Would you please share with us now?
Yes. To go off of what Ashara said, people do try to change what they see as unfamiliar or different because it doesn't follow a certain criteria. I have a personal experience with that. In 6th grade, I was at MD Roberts. I was actually the only Asian American in the dance class that I was in. And a lot of people of my own race, they didn't see that it was, didn't think it was good for me to be in dance because we do live in a very stereotypical world and people have these certain criterias that you have to follow. And it made me feel like I didn't deserve to be in dance because I love dancing. It was my hobby. I loved it, but people kept forcing me to join orchestra because that was where all of the other kids were. And it made me feel like me being different from people of my own race it just wasn't suitable. So that was a personal experience that I felt like ties along with this.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And it's I think it's important to note that it's not always you're outside your community. Sometimes it's your own community telling you to not be different from us. It's like act more Hispanic, act more Asian, act Blacker. Those are conversations, complex and very emotionally weighted, that happen both internally and externally from our community. So good example. Daniel, would you please share with us?
Hello. Yeah, so I do believe that people try to change others to be more like them, because I believe that society was built to make the majority the normal and the good. And I feel like people nowadays will unintentionally try to change others. I think like one of my primary examples is as a child of an immigrant, I remember what's called being raised with Mexican parents. I spoke Spanish was my only language. I was called, I had the culture in me. But when I started going to school, when I started to assimilate in American culture, people change. And at one point you just start what's called change into assimilate to the majority, because you believe that the majority is the normal and the good. So yeah, it is a real problem in today's society.
Thank you for that, Daniel. And we got two more. We have David and Alana. How about Alana goes next, please?
I believe a lot of times people try to change people in and outside the race. Like I have a personal example. I have a cousin that goes to a majority white school. And so when everything was going on with BLM and stuff like that, they thought that because she had went there and did certain things they done, that she was going to be on their side and stuff like that. So they tried to change her and change her opinion in ways about how she felt. And it almost got to her. So when she was finally like, no, this is who I am as a person, it was a way they felt attacked because she didn't want to be that person. She didn't want to be that person to be like, no, this is that and the third. Oh, it was justified. She wanted to be like, this is me. I'm Black. and this goes on in my race, and it needs to be acknowledged. And if you don't understand, well, you will not, they will never understand. But she was just trying to let them know that I need to stand up for me because this is going on right now, and then it's infecting me as a person, and they couldn't get that, and so they would try to antagonize her and make it like she was like a bad person, and make her a stereotype as the angry Black woman that always was fighting. So it takes a lot to do to fight for stuff when people are against you, especially in a different race or in your own race, when you're too Black or you're too white or you're in the middle.
Yeah, and you raise a very good point that our otherness, for especially when we're a hyper minority, where we're one of the only ones in our respective communities, is a difficult position to be in. It is a hard conversation, and and we have to acknowledge that there's a lot of work that goes into that, and being almost like an ambassador for your own community, whether it's your ethnicity, your race, your education level. Because I think I'll to add a lightness to this, all of you are tremendous leaders and aspiring to grow in your educational attainment, and you may be the first among your family, and that'll be a whole nother type of ambassador that you each aspire to be. David, will you please close us off? I think you're the last individual wanting to respond to this question.
Yeah, I think change is a very nuanced thing to grasp, because with every person trying to change someone else, it always boils down to intention versus the means that they try to carry it out. Intention is such an abstract and subjective concept that we can never truly know whose intentions are good or bad, even deep down inside of us. When I think it's universal to say that trying to change a prejudiciary person into being more inclusive is a good thing, right? But in another society, another world out there, that can be seen as hateful, disrespectful, and it changes from place to place and person to person. And it's also the means. Do we gently nudge them there, or do we push them there with both our hands? And I think having set rules on how we should go by bringing both positive and trying to prevent negative change is a very important thing to establish within society, and having that conversation is just something that we should put in the forefront.
Yeah, very thoughtful answer. Let's see, we're gonna switch gears a little bit, not too far away from our current topic, but we're gonna be talking about teen violence. And when you hear about teen violence, what comes to your mind? What does it mean to you as young people living in Georgia in the Clayton County school system? So we have Alana.
Teen
Still
violence
the other hand.
Oh,
is that right? Because you've got two screens, so now I'm following the hand.
Okay. Teen violence to me is like people being violent towards other people, and also when it comes to mental health, being violent towards yourself or self-harm. So I believe that teen violence comes from not just in the home, but as well as a mindset of somebody has given you or made you feel like you're powerful, or you're this type of way, so you can be this type of way towards others. And self-harm also comes from like I said, bullying, and just make you feel like you're not enough because, like I said, other people tell you that certain situations. So teen violence to me comes from two different places of self-harm and people being harmful towards others because of who you are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, that it's, both for our own self-care or self-harm, external parties, both, and then of course, physical and emotional. And let's see, we're gonna hear from David again. He's stepped up for this question.
I think that violence, unfortunately, this nation does harbor people who wish to inflict harm upon others. But I also think that the way that we treat people is very indicative of how people treat us. And I can't in good consciousness say that if we treat everybody with love and respect, that all violence is going to cease, because that's just not the case. Some people are just like that at birth. But I think that, treating people how we want to be treated, I know that it's a very, very common thing to say. I think it's a pretty good start.
It is a good start. Thank you. Ishara.
I personally associate teen violence with being exposed to or doing dangerous activities such as crimes or extreme violence. To me, that means anyone could fall into the action of teen violence. Like if you were put in a certain situation where you feel like you don't have any other choice, a lot of kids will fall into teen violence. Like, for example, many people at my school personally, I know that many of them don't feel like that they would be have any use in like the future of society. So they correlate that with them being less than other people. So they will just continue to stray away from anything and then use teen violence as a way to defend themselves from like realizing who they truly are. And it just leads to negative things that lead to more negative things that makes them feel like they have no use. So they just don't do anything.
Mm-hmm. And let's see, we have DeSola. Would you like to share with us?
So teen violence to me is when a teen either experiences the violence or they are a part of the violence. So they're the ones that are applying the violence or engaging themselves in it. And I feel like most of the time teen violence comes from the fact that violence is normalized in this country. Like violence is the automatic thing that we go towards when things go wrong or doesn't go our way. And we're not really, and well, most of us we're not really taught that instead of violence we should go ahead and talk things out, talk disagreements out about things. And most of the time violence is also seen as a sign for some reason as strength. Like if you're walking away from a problem, you're seen as weak. Or instead of like if you choose to talk about a problem, you're seen as weak. But if you face a problem with violence, like you're seen as strong, everybody's scared of you. And it's very sad that it's normalized and it needs to be changed.
Yeah, no, thank you for acknowledging the complicated relationship we have between violence and anti-violence and the perceptions of society, not just young, but these are, I cannot fail to say that these are difficult conversations that are had by people my age. I'm an old man, I'm 35, but also my peers, my own division that probably couldn't articulate the answers to questions like these as well as some of you have, really as all of you have today. And I'm going to allow Dr. Nunez, we're at 11:56 by my time. Do we have time for one more question? Or yes, one more question? All right. And so I'm going to jump forward a little bit to a little further on down as we talk about violence, both violence perpetrated by teens and onto teens. I think it's important to talk about resilience, because resilience is what's necessary to survive after violence. And what does resilience mean to you? And what are some of the things that are done or can be done to build resilience in our youth? All right, we've got some excited speakers. Let's start with Jahan.
Resilience to me is the ability to become strong again after something bad happens. Like things that can be built to resilience is to know your strength, think of that you are grateful for, and being able to find the solutions to challenging situation. And one of the best part about resilience is that it's never too early or too late to start practicing resilience.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. We've got several individuals. Let's see. How about Amir?
To me, resilience is that you're determined to keep going even though when times get tough. Ways to like practice resilience or to improve resilience is, well, people have different ways of keeping themselves resilient. Like some people fall back on their family, others they use like their faith, they may pray to their God or read their text. So I guess it just depends on what's in your life and like what you love, like what you love to do. Or
I think we're losing you for a bit there, but I like the fact that you mentioned resiliency in a network of care, emotional support, which is a big thing in resiliency. Let's see. Let's hear from, like, scanning the room, the virtual room. Let's hear from Rachel again.
Hi. I think that I agree with all these definitions of resilience, and I think that a lack of resilience comes from our general lack of feeling worthy. You know, we don't feel like we're worthy of continuing on or enjoying life or having certain things. And I think that's what stops us in our tracks a lot of times, like when we get a no or when we get like a pause, a bump in the road. A lot of people come to a complete stop because they don't have the confidence in themselves or that feeling of self-worth enough to feel like they deserve to keep going or there's anything for them to keep going for. And I think if we were taught to love ourselves a little bit more and appreciate ourselves for all that we're worth, appreciate our differences, appreciate those eccentricities that make us special and make us different. I think if we were able to acknowledge these as a society and make people feel good for them instead of feel bad for them, and we didn't have to spend so much time unlearning that kind of self-hate, it would make it a lot easier for people to keep fighting and to keep on moving on.
Yeah, no, resilience and self-worth is a very powerful topic. And thank you for touching on that. Daniel, would you please share with us?
Hello. Okay, so resilience is something I really had to learn this year. Resilience is the ability to get up no matter how many times you've been knocked down. And some ways that you could practice resilience is one thing you have to do is be okay with rejection. You have to be able to what's called accept failure, because failure is going to be a part of everybody's journey. So you're going to have to get used to failure. And like what's called, you also have to remind you on it, like every time you get knocked down, instead of focusing on the bad, you really have to focus on the positive outlooks. Like you have to look at the situation and see what did I gain from this positively. So that's what I think was called how you could practice resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. The relationship between resilience and personal growth and how we move on. Alana, what?
So back to Rachel said, she was talking about how people don't feel worthy enough. So that's where a lot of resilience, where they should take resilience from. And like I said, mental health is like a big thing for me. So so what I think is we don't feel worthy enough because what is taught in the home is tough love, or you need to be hard on your kids and this and that and the third, and being like, oh, you're not doing this hard enough, or you're not trying hard enough, and it makes a big blockage in their kids' life to feel like they're worthy and feel like they're enough. So they have to be hard and strong-willed, and then when they get knocked down, they don't know where to go because they've been taught all their life: be hard, stay strong, don't go down, be worthy. You're supposed to be hard. Why are you being soft? And so I think that when it comes to resilience, people have to learn that it's okay to be soft and go and take a break and come back down and just do stuff to make themselves happy and not be so strong and will minded of little things, because at the end of the day, trying to be so strong will be so hard on yourself takes a toll on you as well, and it makes you feel like, well, I'm doing all this, why am I feeling this type of way? Because you're not taking the time to be soft on yourself and congratulate yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciating the resilience you already have. And again, you touched on making sure you take care of yourself and acknowledge your victories, no matter how large or how small. Very important. Let's hear from DeSola again.
I agree with what everybody before me said. And I want to go back to what I think Daniel said about failure. So oftentimes when we fail, we associate it with being bad. We associate failure with being bad. And we need to be taught that failure is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. It's a learning moment. It's a chance where we can think of a way of not to do things and try a different way of doing things. So when you fail, you learn something new. You gain a different perspective on things. And another thing I would like to touch on is for resilience. In order for us to grow resilience, we have to find something that keeps us motivated, something that we always look up to. When we think about it, we feel motivated, we feel energetic to do things. And it can be either family, it could be a goal, it could be a future career, it could be anything. So I feel like once we find that thing, it will keep us moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to let David close us off. But I want to say you touched on a very important thing that I think we say us as adults, we strive to create a community where you can try and fail and grow. Because like you said, failure is only failure if you don't learn anything from it. But we try to create a community where you can try as many things to find your place in the world, find that which gives you passion in life. So I'm very glad you brought that up. And David, would you please close us off with this question?
I 100% agree with what Desola said, and I'm glad that she said it, because I think that associating resiliency with 100% success so closely can be a very dangerous thing to associate. I think that over the course of life can be hard, and it can be especially hard for a certain group of us. And so many have scratched and clawed their way to living a life that they are happy with. But, many don't make it to that point. And I don't think that we should take away from how resilient that they've been and that they have been in the past. Us as a society, we've tried so very hard to reach a point of true equality and love and understanding. And I'd argue that we haven't reached that point yet, and we won't reach that point for a while. But does that take away from how resilient we have been and how resilient we will be? It doesn't, and I don't think that it should. We've run our race. We've gotten farther than we were in the past, and I think that's something that we should be proud of and something that we should still strive to keep going forward with.
Yeah, fantastic answer. Well, before I turn it back to Dr. Nunez, I just want to say I'm impressed with every single one of you. Your answers are tremendous. You are all the leaders that I hope to see, not just today, but tomorrow, 5 and 10 years from now. And as somebody who is, who's my family, they were refugees fleeing a civil war. Like I see a lot of the same type of emotional and educational experiences in each of you that I saw when I was growing up. So thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of the program. Incredibly proud to be here with these wonderful young leaders, and turn it over to Dr. Nunez.
Thank you, Mr. Perlera. What a conversation, what a conversation. And I was taking copious notes here, trying to keep up with all this thinking. I want to say, some of Dr. Beasley's comments and Dr. Lee commented on these students' critical thinking ability and years of education, and we are so very proud of you. We thank everyone who has joined us, but I wanted to close with wrapping up with the topics that we discussed today, and we discussed the topic of solidarity, starting and listening to your voices saying a feeling of unity between people towards the same goal, a network of trust with the people around us, like mindful individuals coming together looking for solutions. It's a feeling. Solidarity is a feeling. It is community. You say those things about solidarity. You gave us examples of recent events that have happened, recent bad things that have happened in our society, and how we have come together as one group. We also discussed color blindness. I always, when I do cultural diversity presentations, you basically summarize what I usually say, the difference that difference makes. Recognizing and acknowledging the difference that difference makes. And understanding that color blindness can be answered from 2 different perspectives. That wanting to be all the same as a unit, but also celebrating our differences and celebrating our backgrounds and our cultures. As an immigrant and as a Hispanic immigrant, I feel that that acknowledgement and celebration of my background and my culture is very important. We also discussed changing others. And I love that that we started with good intentions, that there are a lot of people with good intentions trying to change others, but should we try to fix others? Change comes from within. I love that part. Change comes from within. And instead of trying to change others, let's try to be a better version of ourselves. That came out of that conversation. And we also spoke about resilience, very deep conversation on resilience. And the definition that you all have about resilience, know your strength and be grateful for it. And it's never too late. It's never too late to approach it. And we talk about resilience, of ways to cope, falling back on family, falling back on things that we know and appreciate, and that feeling of self-worth. This has been a rich conversation that reflects who you are, who we are here. We want to continue these conversations. These are very important conversations, and we appreciate your participation. And of course, I thank always the support of our leadership and the support of everybody present here, listening to our students and these important topics. And I wish you all a great rest of the weekend. Thank you very much for your time this morning. We went 10 minutes over, but I believe it was very much worth it, very much worth it. Thank you, Dr. Dunn, for your leadership and your team, for organizing the panel and inviting our students. And I'll see you the next time we have these conversations. Dr. Beasley, thank you for your support, and other leaders in the district. Representative Burnell, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your words. Have a wonderful rest of the day and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you. I'll take care.